Welcome learners.
In this video, we shall be discussing about the socio-economic and cultural aspects of the tribes of MP and Chhattisgarh.
It must be interesting to always learn about the different tribal populations in India. Now let us focus on the tribes of MP and Chhattisgarh. As already mentioned, though the different tribes belong to various races, speak different languages, have their own distinctive customs, the tribes of a particular region or state are not totally insulated from their external surroundings. They live within the culture of the non-tribal world, hence the social, economic, and cultural features of their lives often show adoption of the regional peculiarities, though not in totality, but only in glimpses. Some tribes are more adaptive and receptive to change and so might show more reflection of their neighbors' way of life, while those living in remote or interior areas retain their originality. Certain common features found in the socio-economic aspects of various tribes of the region, followed by a description of the predominant tribes, are discussed elaborately.
Economic aspects.
In 1951, about 90.5% of the tribals throughout the country were engaged in agriculture. Agriculture still remains the predominant feature of the tribal economy. The tribals are also known to depend on the products of forests, hunting on land, and fishing for their food. The methods and tools used by them are also age-old and primitive. Example, shifting cultivation by the slash and burn method, known as Bivar or Dahiya in MP, is widely practiced by the tribals. In this method, the trees and jungles in the forest slopes are cut and burnt and the lumps of charcoal and stones removed. After some rains, the seeds are sown in the ash-covered soil. Good crops like paddy are produced only in the first year, with millets and maize grown in the next year. From the third year onwards, the place is left fallow for some years and the cultivator shifts to another clearings, and this cycle continues in rotation. This method was widely criticized because of the belief that it caused soil erosion and excessive deterioration of cultivable land. However, the modern view holds this practice as an organic response to certain geophysical conditions such as undulating terrain, steep slopes, which make it difficult to prepare buns in steep slopes. Plowing is done either by bulls and plows or by digging with hoes, and cow dung is used as manure. However, some tribes have invented certain indigenous methods of irrigation, like constructing bunds on mountain streams to irrigate their fields and terraces. Rice remains the predominant crop grown by tribals of MP along with some kinds of millet and maize. The 2011 census shows that cultivators and agricultural laborers together constitute 74.67% of the total tribal workers in Madhya Pradesh and Chhattisgarh. This shows that there has hardly been any change in the means of livelihood of the tribals since 1951, and agriculture still remains their predominant occupation.
Socio-cultural aspects.
The fundamental structure of the social organization in Madhya Pradesh and Chhattisgarh is particularly caste-based. Despite the cultural diversity, the state presents an interesting account of Adivasi and non-Adivasi customs and traditions.
Religion.
The original religion of the tribal people is animism, the attribution of a soul to natural objects and phenomena. According to it, all objects, both animate and inanimate, are permanently or temporarily inhabited by spirits or souls. Many experts are of the view that animism is nothing but Hinduism in its primitive form. Sir Herbert Risley described Hinduism as animism more or less transformed by philosophy. Similarly, Dr. J.H. Hutton, the commissioner of the census of 1931, considered modern Hinduism to be the result of an amalgam between pre-Aryan Indian beliefs and Mediterranean inspiration and religion of Rig Veda. Hence, most of the tribes are considered Hinduized but at different levels of conversion. As regards the tribes of the Central Belt, it appears that by the time of the writings of the Puranas, most of them had already been Hinduized. As in the case of other tribes, the tribes of this region also have an idea of a supreme being who is responsible for bringing creation into existence. This supreme being controls all other spirits, but he is apart and different from them and does not belong to the class of natural or human spirits. Totemism, magic, witchcraft, and sorcery form an integral part of the religious beliefs and practices of these tribes. The tribal people were influenced by the Christian missionaries and Islamic invaders, as a result of which few accepted Christianity and Islam. Presently, the tribal religion is not considered as a separate religion and is included in Hinduism. According to 2011 census, 95.25% of the STs in MP and 88.62% in Chhattisgarh are Hindus. Tribes following other religions and persuasions are 3.81% in MP and 6.23% in Chhattisgarh. Christian tribes constitute 0.57% in MP and 4.92% in Chhattisgarh, whereas Muslims account for 0.21% in MP and 0.10% Chhattisgarh both.
Kinship?
Kinship terms used by different castes and groups are almost the same all over the state, except with little difference in their pronunciation. Kutumb, family, is the smallest unit that shares the common rituals and mores of the clan. All the members of the family unit are bound by a kinship tie. Patriarchal system prevails in the state, hence the elder son inherits the father's right and property, making the tribals no exception to this common practice. The position of a wife in a kutumb depends upon her husband, and that of the mother is recognized in relation to her children. Sex, age, and supporting capacity of an individual are the deciding factors which govern his role in the family. Without a male child, a family is considered incomplete. Widows and divorced daughters of a family are accepted as liabilities. Separation from a kutumb in the same village or town is not encouraged. It is contrarily taken improper if somebody ventures to break the ties with a joint family. Among the Beals, however, no sooner a boy and a girl get married, the couple is separated as a part of convention. Other than the birth links, people are also linked through ritual acts. One of such kinships is the kinship of ritual brothers and sisters known as Gurubai and Gurubain, which is acquired through a common teacher. This type of kinship is regarded more serious than the Dharma Sambandha, the relation sanctioned by religion. The duties attached to this form of kinship are mostly the same as performed in real kin ties.
Community law?
On the birth of a child or the death of a person, there is always the community law that works to keep the perpetuality of rites and rituals. It is the social system wherein the caste has to submit without questioning. The importance of the panchayat is obvious in relation to customs and traditions. It is the gunia or badai or gaita or badwa or badwa whose strange ways of ritual performance sometimes create an atmosphere of awe, who holds the final word among the Adivasis. The unlettered rural audience has to bow heads before all such things which are thrust upon through this institution. Only in certain cases, the panchayat happens to do away with evils of some age-old practices.
Birth?
The male child gets preference over the female child, as the birth of a male child is regarded as fulfillment of an obligation due to the ancestors. The announcement is made by beating a thali. If it is a male child, conventional designs symbolizing the footmark of the child and toys, etc., called paglia, are drawn on a piece of paper and sent through a village barber to the nearest kins living in other villages as a mark of good news. And in return, the barber brings back clothes and ornaments for the mother and the newly born child. On the 9th or 11th day after the child's birth, the sun god is worshipped by the mother and the child is brought out to see its race. The ritual is called Suraj Puja.
Marriage, divorce, and remarriage.
Marriage is considered as an obligation on part of all individuals because through it the important task of perpetualization of patriarchal line becomes possible. Marriage among tribals is usually within an endogamous group, and violation of this rule often leads to excommunication. Exogamy is permitted only in the same village. Among the same Gotra, marriage is possible in the agricultural communities of central MP, although not within a close link. Example, two brothers could marry two sisters, or a brother and sister could marry a pair of siblings. Marriage and cohabitation together are rare except among some animistic tribes. Premarital relations are possible within certain tribal groups like the Murya, and that too in their Gotul premises. But when the relations reach to assume marital position, the wedding ceremony becomes absolutely necessary through the elders. Marriage takes place among different tribes in different ways. Example, Bagoda in Beals, Kitiwari in Murias, Dud Lothana in Gons, or Paitu or Paisa Mundi, in which a girl goes on her own to her lover's house to live with him, and various other types which are discussed later. Among the enlightened sections, marriage is arranged either by willing couples or by their elders. The actual marriage ceremony ranges from the most lengthy and elaborate practices to very simple ones, but the essential rites are the same, like use of turmeric and oil and perambulation of the sacred fire or the pole. The feast depends on the availability of funds and on customs and traditions of the respective groups. Divorce is convenient among the tribals, and remarriage of a widow or a divorced woman is not a problem. Remarriage is done through Natra, a conventional device for the remarriage of divorced women and widows. Byah or Lagna is the approved ceremonial form of marriage. There is a good deal of difference in the social and ceremonial aspect of Byah or Lagna and Natra. A widow may marry the younger brother of her dead husband, which is not a taboo in many tribes and agricultural communities. The dissolution of marriage is done by mutual settlement and in consultation with caste elders by both the parties. A paper required to be signed by the surrenderer of claims is a customary practice. The paper is called Faragati, meaning disengagement.
Death.
Among the Gons, the deceased is buried, but the Rajgons prefer to burn the corpse. Sannyasis and infants are given the earth. The cremation takes place by the stream and the ashes are submerged in sacred waters. The death of an elderly person is mourned by all the relatives. The close ones are expected to show extra respect to the dead by shaving off their heads.
Ornaments.
Brass or zinc or tin ornaments are common amongst the tribals. Traditional peasant jewelry not only fascinates the women but also indicates her marital status. Even the poorest women wear some sort of ornaments. Headbands or earrings with pendants of red, blue, and white beads, or kawaris and bead belts with belts suspended are desired by the Adivasi women. Men wear bracelets in their wrists and mundri in the fingers.
Dress.
Dhoti is the regular outfit for the peasants of this region. A white or a black jacket called bandi or mirzai is in vogue in Bundelkhand and Malwa. Safa is worn on the head in the eastern parts of the state, and pagdi or paga is preferred in the western regions. Women wear colored lehenga and choli. A piece of cloth known as orni or lugra is used to cover the head and the shoulders. In the central region, they prefer red and black colors, while yellow, blue, and green are admired by the Chhattisgarhi women. Kanchali is stitched out of colored pieces of cloth. It is a sort of bodice used by covering the breasts only by tying it at the back with strings, called khasna in the Malvi dialect.
After going through this video, you should be able to understand the different tribes of the region and their social, economic, and cultural characteristics.
Thank you.